Hi, everybody. Carrie Headley here with Head in the Game Fitness. This week's vlog is going to be 9 things that I did during my personal health changes that are kind of my recommendations for things to think about. I think you'll be surprised too as you hear these as I go down the list that they're not very specific eat this, do this kind of rules. They're very approach and behavior based. Some of them are mindset, but very approach based. I went at things quite differently starting in 2010 than I had ever tried before. Some of it was very purposeful on my part, and some of it was purely by accident. I was flying by the seat of my pants, and lo and behold, things were working, so I kept doing them. All right, the other thing I want to say about these 9 things, I'm going to try to keep us to the 15-minute mark or under. I don't know if I can do all 9 things in under 10 minutes. I don't think so. I'm rather long-winded, and to talk 1 minute on each point is going to get me to that 10-minute mark. So I'm going to try really hard to keep us at 15 minutes. First point I want to make, though, is in talking with other women who have had similar stories and progress and path to mine, they also would say some of these very same things about their journey and what they changed and did. And it's very process and behavior related, not rule based and eat this, move that way. So I think these are common threads. It's not just me. I think if you start listening and following other people's story, you will find that you hear these same topics come out. All right, so first thing, I allowed for time. I knew what I had been doing for years, decades really, was not working. I had bad habits. I just didn't know how to eat. I didn't know how to move. I had a lot of confidence problems, a lot of body image problems. And that had been occurring, like I said, for decades. I knew my changes were going to take me a while. I originally was thinking I had 70 pounds ish to lose, and I was thinking, oh, about 1.5 pounds a week. So that's going to take me about a year to get through that weight loss process. I wasn't yet, when I first started, fully realizing about all the mindset and habit change that goes into it. I was really purely started with weight loss things in mind. So that's why I'm focusing on that number goal, because that was where my mindset was at the time. As I got into things, I realized and learned, and my mindset began to change. But I knew at the start that it was going to take a while. It had taken me years to develop some poor habits. It was going to take me years to undo them. So that's number 1. Allow for time. Don't expect quick fix, because that is kind of feeds into what has probably gotten you to the point of unhealth that you're at. At least that was the case for me. Okay. Number 2, I changed things one at a time. All right. I did not know how to prepare meals for my family differently than I was at the time. I was very casserole based. I really didn't know what to eat. I wasn't sure what to change in what I was eating. I knew I needed to eliminate junk, and we all know what junk means. But outside of that, I didn't really know how to feel in my body. I wasn't sure how to be consistent with my workouts. I joined a boot camp and I got rolling with that. So that was my way to be consistent. But that was one piece of the puzzle. I wasn't sure how to implement things into our budget, because I got some education and I learned, wanted to be eating better sources of protein. I wasn't sure how to implement all that. I didn't know what habit to tackle first. Because I felt so overwhelmed, I ended up simply by trial and error, and because I didn't know what else to try, I only ever changed one thing at a time. And it turned out that was probably one of the biggest keys to me getting the results that I wanted. I simply was not able to change everything at one time, so one thing at a time was an essential key to me making forward progress. I first worked on phasing out some of the processed foods that we were eating. Then I phased in, getting away from the casseroles that we were eating. Then I decided I wanted to give up soda. Then it was giving up some of the grain heavy stuff that we were eating. So it was just little by little. There was no rhyme or reason to what I picked, just one thing at a time until it felt comfortable and routine. Then I was ready to kick on to the next thing. Going hand in hand with that, I did small things. So I focused daily on something I could do. If it happened to be that that day was my scheduled boot camp workout, that was my daily thing. Or it was, I want to make sure that we have dinner today. It's going to be busy. I know that we're going to be tempted to go out and hit the drive-through, and that's not what I want to do. So it was one thing every day to get the win, the victory, to kind of build my self-confidence, okay? So focus on one thing a day. Kind of tie it into whatever that one thing is that you're changing or focusing on at the time. Your one thing can be tied to that larger one habit that you're working toward. So my example would be when I gave up soda. Really, it was my energies were focused on what I was doing relative to that. So it might have been that that day I was not going to have a soda. I went from having a soda every day, then I kind of backed away and I would have one like every other. And then I did the shorty cans, and then I would mix in like seltzer water, flavored water with the soda, so I'd still get that fizz. So depending on where I was in that, I might have been doing something a little bit different to get away from the soda habit that I had created for myself, okay? So you see how I just focused on that one tiny thing on that day, kind of under the umbrella of the bigger thing that I was working on, all right? So those two go hand in hand. Focus on one thing at a time and do just one small thing a day, something that allows you to build your confidence and plod forward every day, every day, every day. Okay, number 4, enjoy the process. And boy, oh boy, let me tell you, I hated this. I hated when people told me this. Kind of along the way, or I'd heard it in other situations, especially when I was trying to do more restrictive programming. I mean, all that ever went through my head was, yeah, this is going to be enjoyable. Me not having soda, me not having ice cream, me not having cheese, me not. You know, it didn't sound enjoyable. Purely by accident, again, my process was enjoyable. I was picking and doing things that I wanted, that was totally within my control, that were working in my life, and I didn't feel this overreaching pressure. I wasn't weighing in daily, which was not a good thing for me. So I enjoyed this much more. I didn't have that weekly pressure that really made me feel very stressed and very unworthy about the choices I may or may not have made that week. So for me, going about this without those weigh-ins was huge, and it added to my enjoyment factor. I found that I liked the exercise that I was doing. That added to it. I liked learning about how to eat, and I also liked that I was in the driver's seat. I was calling the shots. I didn't realize that about myself until I got into changing my own personal health. I am not a person who likes to rule follow at all. Or I shouldn't say rule follow. I'm not a person who likes to be told what to do and have things dictated to me. I like to know my boundaries. I like to know what the rules are, but I want to choose. I don't want to be told. And I stumbled on to doing this in that way, and it was the very best thing for me. So I enjoyed what I was learning. I liked the process of changing my food. I liked the process of feeling better. I liked the process of I said I was going to do, and I followed through, and I did. So it felt very fulfilling for me. And I think if you step away from the have-tos and you find the things that make sense in your life, and you rid yourselves of some of the pressure that goes with this, of following and doing the have-tos and doing the shoulds, I think you will find that you enjoy the process of changing your health much more. Look at it from a very discovery point of view, and I think that will help you. It's not going to feel pressure laden and like it sucks, okay? I took myself into account. So you very often will hear this on my Facebook page, on my blog, my vlogs, all over the place. I talk about WWFY, which is what works for you. I was determined at the start that I would still be eating cheese. I would still be eating ice cream. I was not going to be giving up cocktails with friends. I was very aware that I needed to eat differently than I was. I could not be going to the drive-through many, many times a week. I could not be having ice cream every night on the couch. I knew those things and I had known them for years. What I didn't know was that carving cheese out of how I wanted to eat was making me feel very deprived. So, what I did going forward and what was in my mind at the very start was I'm going to figure out a way to do this, eating the stuff that I like in a way that makes sense. I'm going to eat the way I want and eat the things that I want. So, I was taking myself into account. Um, I started knowing that soda was not a great thing for me, but I also kept drinking it for a number of months throughout my process. When I was ready, when I wanted to, then I decided I was going to start eliminating soda. You know, those choices were all about me when I was ready, what made sense in my life. You know, there was certain things that I was battling, one of my kids not sleeping well through the night during this. Trying to take soda out of the equation at that time would have been silly on my part. It would have been a poor choice because I was stressed, I was upset, I wasn't sleeping well, and I was not coping. So try to add that layer of taking something away that I really, really liked and didn't want to at that time would not have worked. Okay? You have to get real with yourself and do some discovery and decide what makes sense for you, what works for you. You have to take yourself into account in this process, and that alone will help get you to success because you will be doing the things that you actually want to do. All right. I decided to learn number 6. I decided to learn, I think I'm on 6 or am I on 7 here? Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have been counting. Anyways, I won't number them anymore. We'll just say the next one. I decided to learn, but with a grain of salt. So I did a lot of reading. I was very excited to find some new blogs and some magazines, some new people to follow online and hear what they had to say. I was really very into how I ate for quite a while. I tried lots of different stuff. I tried paleo for a while. I did the Whole30 thing. There was lots of different things that I read and tried along the way. And I don't necessarily know that those contributed to me losing weight, but what they did is they provided me a space to learn and they gave me confidence eventually, several years, even after I lost the weight, that I can try and I can listen, but I don't have to do it. Or while there might be several things within a program or an approach, say paleo or the Whole30, that I can get behind, I don't have to agree with every single thing that they say or do. I can pick and choose the parts and the pieces that make sense to me and will work in my life and apply to what I am doing on my own personal path right now. Okay? So that would be the next thing. Listen, learn, take it in, but you do not necessarily have to do it from A to Z the way any of these other programs or experts are telling you, me included. And I don't consider myself an expert by any means, but what I'm here to do for you is give you ideas, give you a sounding board, a place to think about things differently, give you some permission to step outside the box. But that does not mean that you have to do it all in the way that I'm saying. All right? So listen, learn, take things in, and then temper it. Take it with a grain of salt based upon what makes sense for your personality and your life. Let's see. Oh, at the start, I had what I now call a big why, a big reason, an emotional driver. Yes, I wanted to lose 70 pounds. I was very much looking forward to being able to go to a clothing store and try clothes on and have it not be a terrible, miserable experience. But I also had some larger events and moments that I wanted to have happen in my life that were driving me outside of simply, I need to be skinnier and need to be this size. Okay. So the first of which was I had a class reunion coming up. I had a great high school experience, and I wanted to see those friends again. I knew where I was at with my weight and how I felt about myself and my body. I wouldn't go. Okay. So that was coming up. Well, I guess it was about a year from when I started. And I figured I could lose quite a bit of weight and change quite a lot of stuff before that event came up, and I would feel good and want to go. So that was driving me along. Coupled with that, we had just moved to a house with an in ground pool, which in Wisconsin is a really big deal. I knew my girls would want to be out there, and I wanted to enjoy it with them. I didn't want it to be just living in this house and have it be a constant like black mark and hanging over my head that I didn't want to go out and enjoy that pool, especially when my daughters wanted to be there. So those two things were weighing on my mind, and I really wanted to be able to enjoy those moments. And so having them be far enough in the future that I had some distance from them, meaning they weren't like 12 weeks away and I didn't feel immense pressure. They were far enough in the distance that it didn't bring me pressure, but it was also near enough. A year didn't feel so far away that it wasn't going to make a difference for me in my day to day decisions. So I had a big why. I think you need to have an emotional reason, a very big push as to what it is that you want to happen. Why is it so important for you to want to make these changes? And I think it needs to be more than I want to be skinny, I want to be a size 6, yada, yada, yada. All right. So look and dig for that big why. And I think you will find that that helps you stay motivated and really dig deep to why you want to have these changes happen. All right, and I think my last one here is I began mindset shifts. It so happened that the person I was taking boot camp with was very big into positive mindset. So I began to realize that my self talk, the way that I was talking to myself in my head, particularly when things were not going well, was not effective, not good. Um, You've all heard by now, I'm guessing, like, why would you say those things to yourself when you would never talk that way to a loved one, a child, even a perfect stranger? You would never say, my God, what is wrong with you? You are so fat. How can you possibly even think about eating chips or ice cream or fast food? You know, like, you would never talk that way to anybody else. You shouldn't be saying it to you. It's hurtful, it drags you down, it doesn't help anything. All right. So I began to realize how important that mindset shift was for a very long time. And in certain areas, still, I am not like a huge wax poetic, miss positivity, tell myself how much I love myself kind of person. It feels rather fake and disingenuous. But what I did do very religiously and very deliberately was try to break the negative. So rather than like the days I'd go to boot camp and I just couldn't keep up, and mountain climbers were one of the worst. I hated that feeling of the extra weight I was carrying around my midsection was jiggling as I was doing those exercises. I could very well have sat there and been like, gross, Carrie, that's fat, that's horrible. How'd you even let yourself get that way? You're never going to change, that kind of crap. As soon as I wanted to start that, what I said in my head instead was, I'm trying, I'm here, I'm doing what I can do today. Okay, so that would be my recommendation is start to be aware of what you're doing upstairs in your head because it makes a difference. And if you're not at the stage where you can say wonderful, positive things, don't sweat it. Try to turn off the negative first, okay? So not helping, just stop, say things like that in your head instead, or go neutral. I'm trying, I'm working at it, I'm doing the best I can. Those small shifts, simply stopping the negative, can be a real huge help for you at the start. All right, so like I said, I lost count, but there was 9 total in there. And hopefully you will find some of these things to be of benefit for you, a shift in kind of your approach. Like I said, these are not rule-based. This is not, I'm telling you what to eat or how to move or how often or when or at what intensity or any of that. a lot of what you will find as you get into this changing your personal health is going to be things like how you approach it, changing your mindset around things versus pushing yourself to fit into the mold of a program. You get to call the shots and you get to customize and you get to take the path any way that you want. And it feels very daunting at first, but once you take that first step and you start to see some success and that pressure goes away and you have space in your head to think about something besides just how much you exercise and how many calories are in that muffin or whatever you pick, it's going to be a huge relief and it will give you a jolt of confidence to continue on thinking outside of the dieting box and the mainstream health and fitness box. All right, so there we go. 9 things I did to change my health. And leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you guys, or come on, join me over on Facebook. Check things out and let me know what you think of this blog post. Have a great day.